Mabuhay, this is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. My channel is about marriage to a woman from the Philippines, so I make videos about relationships with Filipinas, and this is something I got from Reddit. It's called "Why Do Filipina Girls Seem Like They Care the Least?" And this comes from the Passport Bros section of Reddit. And so I thought, you know what, I've kind of noticed that before. So I wanted to read his comment. Please subscribe here on Love Beyond the Sea and leave a comment yourself. He says, this is not from any personal experience at all, just something I noticed from watching various YouTubers, vloggers, and couples on 90 Day Fiancé. Laughing out loud. I could be completely off base here, but a lot of the Filipino girls seem so uninterested in the guy and that they just don't care. They don't even try to fake it with the guy. They sit on their phone and are just kind of there. With Latinas, a lot of the time, you see the girls doing the most to seem interested. Is there a reason for this, or am I just noticing some isolated cases? I've kind of noticed that too, and so I wanted to kind of talk about why that might be. Sometimes it's because the Filipina, of course, if she hasn't been speaking English very long, then just like you, if you were in her shoes trying to speak a second language, you probably would try to just nod your head and not say much because, well, you're just probably embarrassed that your English isn't good. You don't want to say something that comes off much different than you wanted it to. And so it's easy just to try to smile and nod your head. But even at that, it seems like this person was noticing still a lack of interest, because if you were at least smiling, nodding your head, that would show some interest. But sometimes you don't even see that. Now, if there's like no emotion, they're sitting kind of far apart when they could be like a lot closer together, that probably would, and facially, if they just don't look happy, then most likely they aren't happy. Or it could be that she just doesn't like the thought of being on camera at all, and so she's not very happy about being on camera. But if she doesn't want to be on camera for an interview on YouTube or TikTok or somewhere else, they don't have to be there. They don't have to. And if they are, then they really should try to look happy, because it makes the guy look bad. It makes her foreigner boyfriend or husband look bad, like she's just not interested and she didn't really want to marry him, but she had to. And there are times when the Filipina is forced, her arm is twisted to marry a foreigner from her family because they want to have a better life. They want her to have one, and they think that this man can help them as well. So she might be on there thinking, yeah, they're asking me questions about how happy I am, and I'm really not. I can't tell the truth. I really didn't want to marry this guy. And, that very well may be the case. In fact, if somebody did a video with me and my wife, for example, and they asked us to do an interview, and I said, okay, and she said, okay, and it looked terrible like that, I would just say, hey, can we not show that video because she looks terribly, terribly uninterested? And I don't think that makes a good impression for either one of us. But it's interesting that he saw that. I see that once in a while. Maybe he's just got bad luck with what he's seen. Now, just some of the other comments here. Again, somebody talks about the language, of course, a little bit of a language barrier. And someone else says that's often what you see if someone is in a relationship where they aren't in love and they don't feel sexual attraction. And that could be, they mentioned that some relationships that are abroad are genuine and the others are just a job to her, like it's some kind of a transaction. And that makes sense. And somebody else pointing out how the ones on 90 Day Fiance are all gold diggers. I don't know. I suppose a lot of them might be. That used to be a show I used to watch, at least on YouTube once in a while. I don't know if it's still as big of a show these days or not. And other people saying how Filipinas, are very friendly and they make good wives. I know other people have had good marriages to a Filipina. I've been married, will be married, come up on 10 years here in May. And then, of course, it kind of degrades into where to find a Filipina. Somebody's saying it's not good to use apps to find one. I found my wife on a Christian dating site. I don't know if you consider that an app or not, but I think a lot of people don't like to use the internet for finding a woman, but I think it does a lot of the legwork to put you in front of potential prospects where you can, if they're truthful, learn a lot about them just by looking at their profile. If they had a decent amount to share on the profile. And so you might want to think about the body language now after watching this video, or look at other people. Notice their body language in airports or restaurants in the Philippines. And if you're with your Filipina, try to focus on her body language with you. Maybe when she's with you, she's spending more time on her phone, talking to her friends, talking to anybody else. Take a look at her facial expressions, her body language. Does she sit close to you? And if she sits close to you, does you really feel something there, or is she just kind of not into it? You can tell. I think you can tell when you put your arm around someone and they embrace you doing that. And I think this is one of those gut feeling things, which could be a red flag, that if you're with someone, now we're talking personally about you and a Filipina that you're with, and if the body language is good, the facial expressions are not good, and maybe she's more talkative than she's showing, it's okay to ask her about that and say something like, I really got an impression that was negative when we were together. I mean, you seemed like you wanted to be anywhere else, and somebody talked to us on a video that we did, or we're out in public and other people seem to be happy, and you just don't seem like you want to be here, and really I don't want to marry someone that isn't into me at least a little bit, or the prospect of being with me and having a better life. Do you really want to be with me? Do you really want to marry me? Because if you're into marriage for the long haul, take a look at these things. You're not going to marry someone who is perfect, but they at least ought to come across like they are interested in you. And if you're too busy to notice, ask other people to observe for you what kind of vibe they're getting from the Filipina that you have been dating. So go ahead and leave a comment if you have seen the same thing. If this has happened to you, just leave a comment here on Love Beyond the Sea.